Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Thursday, July 18th. I'm John Weigell here with Juliet, Bennett, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Every student in the U.S. likely has access to a phone, and in the minds of teachers and school boards, that very access has caused huge distractions in the classroom. As states like New York, California, and Virginia prepare to incite phone bans for millions of students, we have to ask, is that just the best way to do it? We'll chat about that in a bit, but first let's give you the hits and headlines in business and tech. All right, starting us off today, Tinder's new AI-powered photo selector tool wants to end bad dating app photos. After taking an in-app selfie, the tool is actually going to use facial recognition to browse your camera roll before selecting photos that are, quote, optimized to help users find a match. I do not want any AI going through my camera roll. Personally, just don't want them seeing that. Next, the parent company of Ray-Ban and Oakley, EssilorLuxottica, an eyewear company, is acquiring streetwear brand Supreme for $1.5 billion, getting into the clothing game. Next, Disney CEO Bob Iger gained control of LA's Angel City FC for $250 million. The women's soccer team says this deal makes it the world's most valuable women's sports team. In other California news, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman is suing the developer of his $27 million San Francisco mansion, alleging it came with defaults, including a leaky infinity pool. The developer, Troon Pacific, previously had to pay $50 million to investors over an incomplete home renovation. So, Juliet, what do you make of Sam Altman's faulty home?
It just goes to show you that it doesn't matter how much money you have, you can still live in a crappy home where nothing works. Now, granted, my moldy air conditioning unit and no water pressure in the kitchen is Sam Altman's leaking infinity pool. But, you know, I guess, yeah, celebrities are just like us.
Yeah, I would put them on a same scale of necessity there, air conditioning and infinity pool. Practically one and the same.
Mm-hmm. Both great ways to cool off and also to have mold and mildew damage.
And lastly, FX's The Bear earned 23 Emmy nominations, which is the most ever for a comedy series. Previously, 30 Rock held that record with 22, though Game of Thrones holds the record overall with 32. And I'm just here gawking at the term comedy series. Juliet, have you watched The Bear at all?
No, and I'm going to tell you why I've never watched The Bear, because it's relevant.
Tell me.
I can watch John Wick murder like 200 dudes. I can watch Jigsaw put like a bunch of people in horrible traps that they're never going to get out of that rip their faces off. What I cannot watch is an anxiety-inducing show where normal people, no ghosts, no monsters, make terrible decisions or are like always yelling at each other. Like, I love Better Call Saul. I still haven't finished it because I'm always like, Jimmy, it's the wrong choice. Why are you doing that? Baby Reindeer, I got 4 episodes in, had to stop. Everything I've heard about The Bear indicates that it is not a comedy, and I will be very stressed out watching it.
Yeah, it's quite stressful. I mean, there are bits in it that are pretty funny, honestly. I watched the 3rd season, just finished that one. The first 2 seasons I thought were great. Very stressful, kind of funny sometimes, but mostly so stressful that it's funny, I guess.
Okay.
A lot of like cursing back and forth among family members, which, you know, is funny in retrospect. 3rd season, however, complete letdown from my perspective.
Okay.
A lot of montages. They went really artsy with it, and I just was not buying it. But yeah, I'll let you know when the 4th season comes around, and I'll let you know if it's a good watch or not.
How long is an episode? Is it 30 minutes or an hour?
30 to 40, about.
Okay. Because I remember Orange is the New Black. There was something with it where like it wasn't considered a comedy because it was an hour, but then some people thought it was a comedy, but of course also a drama. Like,
weird.
There was a lot of like, is it or is it? What is it? When that show first launched as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is going through the same sort of thing as being labeled as pretty much whatever. So, yeah.
You know what else is a comedy show that is probably the darkest show I've ever seen in my life? Barry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's labeled as a comedy too. I haven't seen that ever, but I know what it's about.
Yeah, I love it. And once again, really like have not finished it because it's so anxiety inducing. I mean, I love it, but it's considered a comedy because it's a half an hour. It's legitimately very funny, but it is also super dark. So
yeah. Okay. So if you're not about the anxiety, Bear's not probably for you.
No.
All right, today we're diving into a potential phone ban in schools and if that's the most effective way to eliminate classroom distractions. But first, Juliet, as someone who hasn't been to school in 8 years, me, is phone distraction really that big of a problem right now in classrooms?
Apparently, according to 72% of U.S. high school teachers, phone distraction is a major problem, which, did surprise me because while I did have a cell phone in high school, it was a Nokia brick phone, and I wasn't champing at the bit to play Snake during history class. But now, of course, phones do myriad things. I read one report that indicates that teenagers get an average of like 270 something notifications on their phone per day.
Wow.
Constantly encouraging them to open it up, open the app. I learned this from hanging out with the youth recently. They don't text each other. They constantly snap each other or send messages on social media platforms. So it's that constant gotta open my 6 apps to see what my friends are saying or doing. So it's a much different ballgame. Not to mention there are growing concerns about the impact of social media on the youth. We know the Surgeon General just came out and it was almost, wanted to issue a warning on it. So yes, phones are way different than the phones that a lot of us probably had in high school, and they have become a problem.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, more capabilities than my TI 83 Plus calculator, which I did, yes, have games on. But yeah, it seems like with the ability to have phones in classrooms, I would have thought like phone bans would have come a lot sooner, just given the amount of things that you could do with them and the amount that people use them generally, especially younger generations. But what is happening when you confiscate these phones? Has it been tried in schools before, and kind of what are the results?
Yeah, so the way that phones are being banned right now is kind of different than you might think. It's not, hey, you can't have your phone out in the classroom. I think a lot of us are familiar with that. I know that was a thing in college. Like, don't have your phone out, don't be on your phone, put your phone on silent. It's not that, because that doesn't work, because kids will still get their phones out. And also it kind of places the burden on the teacher, where the teacher has to constantly be policing for phones and then taking the phones away. And then there's hostility if the phones are taken away. What's happening now are these day-long bans where you turn in your phone at the beginning of the day and you get it at the end of the day, meaning you do not have it in the classroom and you don't have it at lunch and you don't have it at high school doesn't get recess, but like the younger kids, they don't have it at recess. That's the case. And there are a couple schools in New York that Bloomberg reported on that have tried these day-long bans. Initially, students were pissed. They were like, they held protests. They didn't want their phones taken away. There's occasionally backlash from parents even. But over time, these schools have found that test scores and grades are higher because students aren't distracted during lesson time. There's increased attendance at after-school events. And also there's more engagement, and not just in the classrooms, but also at lunch and break times, where instead of everyone sitting and staring at their phones and, maybe texting snapping each other from across the room, they're actually engaged in conversation and interacting a lot more.
Well, that sounds kind of nice.
Yeah.
Makes sense why they wouldn't be too happy about it at first. But I mean, it's kind of nice that there's an ability there to kind of get students to connect with each other more thoroughly. So given that this was kind of successful in some districts, at least like these reported by Bloomberg here in New York, is this going to be happening at a wider scale throughout the United States now?
Yeah, and we're already seeing that. New York City is the largest school district in the United States, and they may implement a ban that would affect over 1.1 million students. The entire state is also looking at putting a ban in place. Bans will also go into effect starting next year in January 2025 for Los Angeles Unified, which is another huge school district accounting for about 429,000 students, and the state of Virginia, which affects 1.2 million students. Now, what exactly these bans entail and how they're going to be enforced, we don't know that yet, but they are coming.
Mm-hmm. And also on the other side of this, right, if you do remove these phones from schools, we talked about some of the positive effects that have been seen, but what are some of the negative effects that it might have?
So the one thing, now when people used to talk about phone bans to me, like people just mentioned, I'd be like, okay, well, how do you even do that in today's school system when unfortunately there is a looming threat of a mass shooting pretty much every week in America.
Sure.
And many of those happen in schools. What do you do when you have this threat? But experts say that the phones actually don't help during those situations, because the natural inclination in the event of an emergency now is to immediately go to your phone and text people or message about it, text your parents, document it in some way. And that is actually leading to more distraction in the event of an emergency. So people are missing instructions and they're not focused on the situation at hand. They're focused on telling other people about it or checking in on their friends or looking at their phones. Mm-hmm. Obviously, some other potential side effects. Phones make noise. Not great if you are hiding from someone. And also in the Bloomberg report, it also talked about children will text their parents. It's like their natural thing to do. The parents show up. The parents show up in the middle of like this operation. It can actually lead to further chaos than just letting the professionals come in and do what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. So there is some indication that maybe that won't actually help. And also certain devices, I guess it would depend on how the ban is taking place, but children may still have their phones. They just may not be able to use them unless they're unlocked out of this device. So in the event of emergency, they may be able to access their phones.
Talk to me a little more about some of the technological things that are being proposed here, because I see you did talk about something that's like a specialty pouch that you put your phone in for the day. It's like a lock-unlock mechanism.
Yeah, it's called Yonder, and I have actually used it several times.
Oh.
I feel like at least half a dozen times I've encountered this little pouch. It was founded in 1924 by a guy named Graham Douglas, who apparently was at a music festival, saw a bunch of people not paying attention to the concert, but filming some drunk guy without that person's knowledge or consent, and was just like, this sucks. And I think all of us have experienced that. We're at a concert, you're trying to pay attention, and then you look at a sea of smartphones taking the tiniest, stupidest little 10-second clip, and you're just like, it's not even good. And I totally get wanting to document where you are and remember things and share things with your friends. But, at times it has gotten to the point where we are overloaded with people not being present and people just being on their phones.
Yeah.
And so I have seen Yonder used not just in schools, but in several other places. And how it works is it's this little pouch the size of a phone. You put your phone in it and it seals. So you have your phone with you at all times. You are responsible for your own phone. This is in schools going to take the burden off the teachers where it's like, you lost my phone, you broke my phone. No, you had your phone the whole time. The only thing is you can't use it because you can't open the pouch unless you use this special magnetic tool to open it back up. So that's the tool that could be in the office. It could be in the classroom. So you would still be able to eventually unlock this phone and get it back out. And you would always have your phone on you. You just can't be scrolling and using it all the time. Mm-hmm. And I will say, I have found it in certain scenarios to be really effective. So I actually enjoy theater a lot in Los Angeles, and I typically don't go to like proscenium plays where you sit down and you watch the play, where phones are usually a big no-no. What I really like are like these sort of interactive plays akin to if you've been to Sleep No More.
Oh, yeah. I love Sleep No More.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love haunted houses. I will go to any haunted house. I love escape rooms. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like still a kid at heart, but like, I love these performances. And a lot of times I have noticed people will go to these and they will be on their phone. Like you'll be in like a pitch black theater because that's the vibe. And then somebody pulls out their phone to like live stream. Hey, look, it's me. And now you're blinded because you've got this phone in your face in what's supposed to be a black box theater. It's very annoying. It's like it takes you completely out of the show.
Right.
And so I've been to probably 6 or 7 performances where they're like, all right, we don't want people on their phones, either because they want people to be present and they don't want them to annoy other people, or because they simply do not want people taking pictures and ruining some of the effects that are happening. This is especially common in magic shows where there's some sort of like big trick reveal, or an escape room where it's like, great, you just ruined the puzzle for everyone and put it on Yelp. Nice. And they will use these pouches. And honestly, they're fine. Like your phone's in there. You forget it's in there after a while. You don't think about it. And then you get it back at the end of the night.
Right.
And I really haven't had a problem with it. I think the first time it happened to me, I was like, wait, I'm an adult. You can't tell me what to do. But okay, yeah, fine. Because, I wasn't going to be on my phone anyways. But after a while, it's just kind of like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah, right. It seems like it's something that could be a potential solution for entertainment vehicles, but also for schools as well, or places where you have to not be very distracted or be on your phone. So, I mean, honestly, kids are very creative. They can find other ways to distract themselves if they need to. Yeah. Get creative. Draw a doodle. I don't know.
Yeah. Or, when you have enough money to buy those smart glasses that put the internet in front of your eyes, you can be distracted in a whole new way. I'm sure technology will prevail.
I'm sure that's the next step of this whole thing.
Yeah.
All right, and that'll do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email, and we'll see you tomorrow.